Hey everyone, and welcome to this guide on Veruna, my current favorite frame. So it's both a gameplay and a build guide video, as we have modified Veruna with Kullervo's Wrathful Advanced subsume. It fits really well on her as it synergizes with her stealth. One of the bonuses of her stealth is that you get a fat critical multiplier for up to 10 or more seconds based on how many enemies you kill. And yeah, the red crits you'll be getting with any decent amount of power strength multiply the multiplier. So instead of yellow crits being 3.7 times or orange being, above 7 times, red crits put you at 10 times or 11 times, 12 times, 15 times, 20 times crit multiplier just with these two skills. Now, if you have a weapon that's modified well and some extra influences on that, such as the Violet Archon Shard with enough energy, then things can start getting really out of hand. You can really start one-shotting the universe of Warframe, at least. Yeah. So let's actually take a look. Let's dive deep into Veruna's build. Just gonna let you pause the video here to check out the mods if you want to, and then explain them all in depth. So the arcanes I've chosen are just for quality of life melee, and so I don't have to put like primed pressure point or anything like that on. We'll always be critting, we'll always be hitting, so these will always be up and giving us a nice boost in speed and damage. That also affects the heavy attack speed. So the aura we've chosen, Brief Respite, grants us the possibility to become immortal, essentially, through shield gating with catalyzed shields, which reduces our shields, but because we're always at the maximum capacity, through using just one ability, because Brief Respite is turning the energy we spend into shields, and Augur Set is also turning that energy into shields, we are nearly always immortal. So when we're not in stealth, we're either in Rolling Guard or Shield Gate. So that's the basic defensive premise of the build. We also have status immunity due to holding down Fangs of Raksh. You get this cool little animation. It looks like he's got sort of bandages over himself. That's one way to tell it apart from this one. The first one gives you increased movement speed, and it looks like he's listening to music. So you can jump insane distances. Second one reduces your jump distance a bit, but makes you completely immune to knockdowns, makes you completely immune to slash, toxin, all that bad stuff, magnetic, radiation, any proc. Yeah, so to not get ahead of ourselves, let's keep going through the mods. You can swap out if you want to Intensify for Precision Intensify to boost melee crit chance even more. You'll lose a bit of crit multiplier, but I think it evens out because sometimes you get into higher red crits. For some reason, I just feel more comfortable with running Intensify there. You could even put on a Umbral mod. I wouldn't recommend it. It's kind of a waste of a mod slot or Umbral Forma, because you're not going to be using armor or health for this. But yeah, anything is possible. So, have we gone over everything? Think, yeah, you don't need the Archon versions. I'm just running them because I maxed them. You can use the primed ones. They're actually better because the bonus from that and the bonus from this will never take effect. Actually, tell a lie. Archon continuity does proc off of Fangs of Raksh. That's why we have it on. But you're never going to be killing enemies with cold damage. And you already have enough energy thanks to Lycath's Hunt and Equilibrium. Power Drift can be replaced with other things. If you really hate status immunity, which I don't understand why you would, then you could swap out for Sure-Footed or Handspring, but basically running without status immunity is going to get you killed. So yeah, that's enough about Veruna. Her Ulfrin's Descent, her like unsubsumed playstyle is super boring. You just press 4 and then you're stuck in like wolf mode. And you just press your melee or left mouse button once every 3 or 4 seconds. But this turns her into an absolute beast. Very, very active playstyle, hopping in and out of shadows to one-shot high-priority targets such as Thrax Ghosts or the Demolists. You can take this even higher than I have. You could swap in 2 more Violet Archon Shards or another Tau Forged to bring your strength up to guarantee even higher tiers of red crit. But it really isn't necessary. We've gone to level cap with this, and yeah, it's fun. So Madurai or Unairu are the focus schools I would recommend. Not so much due to Phoenix Talons and Void Strike and so on. Of course, those are amazing. You don't need them for Varuna's damage. You need them for the operator to be able to one-shot the ghosts, or at least kill in reasonable time. Yeah, you want to kill them and the angels in as short amount of time as possible, because otherwise you'll just fail the mission. Also, the Demolists do, of course, benefit from Void Strike and Caustic Strike from Unairu, so those are both viable options. If you're running a chill gameplay mode like Survival, you can also run Naramon. It has some really overlooked buffs. When you leap up into the air and aim down, press your melee from operator, you'll get double combo points for 20 seconds. You also get buff to your amp damage. It doesn't consume the combo multiplier. Of course, your combo counter will never just get wiped out. It goes down by 5 instead. Void Levitation with Lethal Levitation actually gives you 200% more weapon damage for 60 seconds. So yeah, if you're running something that's not a gameplay mode that revolves around killing high priority targets very, very quickly, if you're just chilling in survival and, you know, working on becoming Warframe Avatar the Last Stylebender, then this is something you can do. Naramon is really fun. The other focus schools I really wouldn't recommend. You already have infinite energy and you don't need to slow enemies. You're already immortal. I mean, it's kind of useless. It's good. Vazarin is good for certain frames with Void Snare for enacting finishers. And protective dash, yeah, can be really nice for defense missions and so on too. So that's the focus schools. My default, I have to say, is Madurai. Unairu comes in a close second. Sometimes it really is better. Not only do you get consistent operator damage, but you also get armor nullification, immediate armor nullification, which is really nice. And you can bring yourself back up if your operator is triggered, which you can't do with Madurai. But you can, of course, one-shot Threx Ghosts and Angels. Yeah, so let's keep going with this. I've chosen the Siam as my favorite blade. The stats might not look that impressive, but it has a unique shockwave, which has infinite punch through, and similar to Excalibur, that is very useful when you're dealing with hordes and hordes of enemies and hallways of them. The shockwave actually travels faster, and it has two distinct types of shockwave. One is horizontal, one is vertical. It does 500% and 1000% heat damage. So this is the build we're running. This stance, I just find the style is much cooler. On Tennokai is a must because it speeds up your wrathful advance a lot, like 80% faster, and it procs quite often. I would actually recommend Discipline's Merit instead of Opportunity's Reach, just because it procs on every fourth attack. It does have a very short window though. Instead of 4 seconds, it's like less than 2. But yeah, as far as a damage calculator, sorting out which one is better, in optimal circumstances, Discipline's Merit would be better. Melee exposure is just a easy to maintain melee arcane. You can also run Animosity. It never drops off, and you'll get insane red crits when you need them. You can run Vortex for grouping. Wouldn't really recommend it, but you can. Influence is going to be kind of hard to trigger unless you build around it because of the forced heat on heavy attacks, but it does work in theory. Fortification is just absolutely useless for this build because you do not use armor, you do not use your health pool, you only use shield gating. The moment anything touches your health at higher levels of gameplay, you're dead. So don't even think about this one. Retaliation, also kind of useless because we have a tiny shield pool. Yeah, Scratch kind of make it entirely useless for this specific build. Melee Duplicate we just don't have yet, but it's not as good as it might seem. So base critical hits means yellow. Once you start getting orange and red crits, it actually does nothing. So you have to stay at exactly 100% crit, or like 125%. Someone worked out it's like 135, 125, something like that. So that when your yellow crits proc a second yellow crit, that crit can also be orange. Yeah, so that's enough about Arcanes and Tennokai. Actually getting into the build itself, we're running Amalgam Organ Shatter. I really recommend getting this. It's not that hard to get from the Thermia event. Heavy attack, efficiency, and crit damage. It's only 5% less crit damage than normal Organ Shatter, which is totally negligible, but the heavy attack wind-up speed makes a lot of difference. So instead of half a second, it's a third of a second. Might not sound like that big a difference. I think it's not counting it right. either. But in actual gameplay, it's huge. Sacrificial Steel, you can't see the 2 times on the final crit chance multiplier, but essentially we're always red critting. The damage to sentience is a nice little buff on the side, but not needed. Gladiator Might and Gladiator Vice stack up together as a sort of blood rush. So when you have your 12 times combo, which you often will have, you'll get something like 240% melee crit chance for having it. Oh, I haven't even maxed Blood Rush. That shows how often I use it. It's just not my favorite mod. Weeping Wounds, on the other hand, is very underrated and much easier to max out. Yeah. Getting ahead of ourselves. Let's finish this build guide. We are actually running Primed Pressure Point for some dumb reason. We should really swap that out for something else. So we could go overboard with Blood Rush, which we're not going to do. Oh, I think there is a method behind this madness. I was reading that Condition Overlord and Condition Overlord Condition Overload and Primed Pressure Point actually double dip on the heavy attacks. There's some weird maths going on with particularly Siam's heavy attack energy shockwaves. But most of the time you're going to want to choose between Condition Overload and Primed Pressure Point, especially if you're already using Primed Fury. So yeah, this Riven is really not that great. You should re-roll it, also because Siam does actually have some nice puncture damage. So you can see here, it's like equal/equal puncture. But it's not the worst negative. The best you could get would be crit chance, crit damage, and an element of your choice. We've gone for Focus Radon to get a bit more heavy attack efficiency. You could swap it with another Forma and get Focus Energy if you want to run Melee Influence instead. Yeah. That will then work together because it needs those electric procs. A lot of things you can do with this build, really a lot of stuff. So we're coming to the end of the theory part of the guide. You're going to want to run Tenacious Bond with this pet, and maybe even Covert Bond if you're running Naramon or something like a Zakti or Void Snare for those finishers. This will make your pet immortal too, not that it needs it, because once you run this one, Panzer Devolution, you never actually lose Tenacious Bond, because your pet is counted as sort of undead instead of truly dead. So Tenacious Bond is always active then. So, hope you gained a lot from watching this video. Just really quick, I choose to run Mitre in case I run into Corpus or Corrupted Nullifiers, because it nullifies them with Neutralizing Justice. Very easy mod to get. This is just because I have the Incarnon and it doubles up as an actual damage dealer, but you really don't need it. Veruna is going to do all the damage with her melee to be realistic. This is just for popping those annoying nullifier bubbles and giving you some nice sprint speed. If you do want to do some range damage, something like the Latham is fine as well. The dodge speed is nice for melee too. Yeah, this secondary dexterity and primary dexterity give you nice combo duration, so it doesn't just fall off randomly. We have 20 seconds instead of the default 5. Yeah, really not that much else to go over with this build. Show you some gameplay footage against high-level enemies. Status immunity, supremely important. Get used to holding down second mouse button. And there we have a proc. Oh. Tenokai and proc of our finisher. So you see, they didn't scratch us. The shield gating kept us alive, and yeah, we're immortal, and that's the way it looks basically all the way up to level cap. There are some exceptions sometimes, but some fights take a bit longer sometimes, but essentially that's the way it goes. You just slash away, wait for a Tenokai proc, use your shockwaves, and everything's dead. Thanks for watching.